Please say hello to Gail Scott. Gail is the creator and founder of Midlife Moxie, a community dedicated to women finding their purpose and power in midlife. She is an educator and a consultant, and she's been teaching women how to put their best foot forward for over 27 years. We are so lucky to have her here with us today. And we're going to start the discussion of how our video presentation and our real life presentation differ and how to make the most of the opportunities that video brings to us. Welcome, Gail.
Well, thank you for having me, Kelly. I'm so excited to speak to your CEO school. Well, gosh, we are in a new era, aren't we? Years ago, I could not have imagined that the majority of my business would be online and that I would be doing video and photos. Heck, I'm not even sure I could imagine that a year and a half ago. And as a midlife woman, it was a little bit unnerving to think about getting on camera when I first started. But I'm also a fast pivot and an early adopter. And I can tell you, because I was an early adopter, that last year in my business, I achieved higher sales than any other year in my 27 years. But it was because I adapted quickly to video, camera, and working virtually. There's definitely some things you've got to learn. The learning curve is not as steep as you would think. And it starts with just courage to jump in and try. Some of the things that are going to be different, though, is our appearance, our environment. We have to really learn to connect people in new ways. And you might even find that this format is more fatiguing than some other formats because you have to move your face and be a little more filled with expression than you do in real life to get your points across. And so some people do complain of fatigue after being on video for long periods of time. So it definitely is a new day, Kelly.
Oh, I think you kind of summed up quite a bit of really what we want to talk about today because it is different. I know that in real life, I don't explode with, as you mentioned, animating your face and animating your voice. All those things matter because if you talk in the way that you normally would when it doesn't, your enthusiasm for your topic doesn't come across. Now, you shouldn't fake it. I mean, it shouldn't be so out there that people are like, oh my gosh, this is a crazy person.
Right.
But you absolutely do have to people are focused on this little square right here, and it makes a difference. So you kind of touched on already, but why is this appearance important? What are we trying to navigate within this square? What are we getting across here? And little caveat there. There's two things. One is presentation, like when we're presenting or when we're having this interview where it's one-on-one. But there's another whole side where you are in the audience. And I think a lot of times people think that doesn't matter so much. If they show up with, in curler and their fuzzy slippers, it's okay because they're not a presenter. So can you talk about both those things?
Sure. And if I forget them all, remind me because things are bopping around in my head. So we've got the consideration of image and we've got the consideration of relationship and connection. And they kind of work together, but you have to realize that when we're in real life, we're three-dimensional and they're getting all of us. They're getting our front, back, and sides. They're getting, more body language. And so we have to work a little harder sometimes to connect with people on camera, but it can be done. And I want to come back around to that. The other thing is image, that, we are working with that little square you mentioned. And when we look at some of the video formats, especially social media, people have seconds. We always say, oh, you'll get one chance to make a first impression. Well, the amount of time to make a first impression just closed into mere seconds because people are going to scroll and people are going to not look at your content. And you said, why is it important? Well, for some of us, it is everything. Like I was in a face-to-face business for 20 something years, knee to knee, eye to eye, toe to toe. And that's what we had always been taught and how we would always work. And so when we adapted to social media, and realized we could not be out seeing people due to COVID, this became everything. So we had to embrace it and embrace it quickly. Here's something I want you to understand though. Everything that seems like it's more work and more effort, there's a trade-off. Because for all the work I have to do in this square down here is sitting here in pajama pants. I haven't left my home. I do not have on shoes. I'm able to take care of my family. So there's a bunch of trade-offs for it. I'm sitting in my comfortable chair. I'm not running around town spending gas in the heat of the South Carolina summer. So just know when you feel a little frustration building or you're feeling like, oh gosh, this is hard, think of all the trade-offs, and they're definitely trade-offs. Now, Kelly, the last thing you asked me, what was that?
Just talking about the difference between, or if there's no difference between being the presenter, being the focal.
Oh, yes, being in the audience. Let me just tell you, as a presenter, I talk on camera a lot because I do work with my clients virtually, but I also work with a team of ladies that I'm their coach and mentor. And I can tell you, when you show up and you are just slouched back in your chair and your hair curlers eating a Pop-Tart, it's distracting and it does not energize me as a speaker. And it's akin to being in a ballroom as the speaker. And if people were standing up, walking around their table, or they kicked their feet up on the table, and, it's the same kind of thing. So I think be a good audience member, because when it's your turn in front of the camera, you want people to be a good audience member for you. And it does really help how I view you and how serious I think you are about whatever we're discussing, your business, your face, whatever it is. Again, it's your image and you get to control that. Here's another good thing though. Like I said, we only have to control this much. I remember when I was out in public, sometimes I would get a little insecure or stressed because I felt like I had to be perfectly coiffed from head to toe. The back of my leg, my toenails. I mean, people were seeing every part of me. On here, the pressure is much less because I only have that smaller area to work with. So really, I can be camera ready in less time than I was going out ready. And I really love that, Kelly.
So I'm going to throw in another thing from my experience, which is the people, when you're in the audience, you are making connections, you're networking, just like if you were at the Better Business Bureau, or not Better Business Bureau, but the Chamber of Commerce and all those places. And if you showed up at one of those networking meetings and you weren't, you were just wearing a t-shirt and jeans, or you were standing in the corner with no light on you, hiding in the shadows, any of those different things, you're not going to fulfill your purpose for being there. And any event, in my opinion, that you're going to attend as an audience member is a networking opportunity for you as well. Whether it's a breakout room that you end up in, or you see old friends, or some of your potential clients there, and you reach out and say hi, you still want to present your very best self because you're auditioning for them as for them to be your client, right? So
now there are situations where we're in a Zoom event that's hundreds of people, maybe even 1,000, and there's one speaker and you're not going to be on camera. They're going to keep it on that speaker. That's totally okay. What is also frustrating though is when people turn their camera off and I'm sitting here as the speaker trying to speak to a bunch of names on a screen. That is just difficult. And I think we have to adapt some new rules of etiquette. And I think we can all just agree that's rude. It's rude. Don't do it. Also, you always want to be able to seize an opportunity if you're a businesswoman. And not being dressed is just like when we're out and about, we meet someone sharp and we can't talk to her because we look like we've been run over by a truck. Now, get me wrong, you may see me down at the Publix looking a hot mess. But, a Zoom call is not an accident. We know we're going to be on, so we can make a little preparation. And, there's some really simple things you can do that are just going to help you at least be camera ready enough to be an audience member.
Oh, yeah. And I will also caveat this. If your business is in the physical fitness realm, for instance, and your personal style is not to wear a face full of makeup, you don't have to change, because your audience, your people, your tribe is going to expect you to show up ready for business, and your business is it makes perfect sense. So this
Right.
is not a blanket thing that says, OMG, you've got to, uh, get dressed up to the nines every time you show up on camera. You need to do it in a way that's authentic to you, and then you go from there. But you want to be able to present your best self. You don't, if you're a physical fitness person, probably showing up sweaty with your hair stringy is probably still not the right image that you want to present,
Well, I've even been, on a Zoom where I thought I wasn't going to say anything, but maybe there was a wonderful speaker and it was an opportunity for me to ask a question, and I wasn't prepared and ready. So it cost me an opportunity to have a connection or have some feedback on something that I really wanted. So being prepared is just, we never regret being prepared. We never do.
Oh, that's so true, especially when you run into an ex. It's like,
Right? Or someone from high school who maybe wasn't particularly nice to you.
oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, being prepared always beats the alternative. So, eh, when you're uncomfortable in the virtual world, which I think a lot of people have gotten used to it now, but still there's a lot of uncertainty of just being on camera and being the focus. How do you manage that?
Well, I think we have to remember why we're feeling uncomfortable. When we were out in the regular spaces, other people were looking at us, but we weren't looking at ourselves. So beginning to look at yourself and seeing that, your eyebrows need shaping, or, you're got a double chin or something, that becomes very unnerving. And when you're on these things like Zoom, you're seeing yourself and you become very critical. But just know that the people in the audience are not nearly as critical as you are going to be. I also recommend you start small. Get on FaceTime through Facebook or Messenger or any other video format with one person, with one friend, and just practice being in front of the camera. When I first started doing it, Kelly, my stomach would rumble. I would just be fretting. I would, pick at my makeup, my hair. I would threaten the dog, all the things. And the more and more I did it, the more and more I became comfortable. It's just like anything else. Practice, practice, practice. And then get help from somebody who knows what they're doing. Get on a FaceTime or a Facebook Messenger or a Zoom with someone who knows what they're doing, and let them give you an audit. How you look, how your background looks, how you sound, how you're seated, all those things. And, it's all just new skills. So practicing, developing skills, getting the education, and just that starting small. Start with, your cousin Sally who loves you, and just get on and have a conversation. We saw this kind of thing in the Jetsons. We didn't know that it would ever be us. So it's actually exciting because, like Kelly, I get to connect with women like you around the country in a way I never could. So again, there's that trade-off. For all the nerves we feel, for all the frustration of technology, I am growing relationships like never before, and it is such a blessing. And so there's that give and take, and we've just got to be willing to, pull our car up on that speed bump and give it enough gas to get over, and you'll be comfortable before you know it.
I love that speed bump analogy. And I will say also, you are never great the first time you get behind the wheel. It just doesn't happen that way. And I can tell you that I started exactly the way you're saying. At first, I practiced by myself. I put the camera on me. I did solo Zooms, and I would do the same chat, the same two topics or whatever over and over and over again, just so that I could not just feel comfortable with the topic, but feel comfortable with how I was presenting myself. Then I went live with one other person. Then, I did I did a 5-minute live, those things. And they were no good. Just to be super clear, it's not like I did that and then they were awesome. They were no good. They weren't any good at all, but they were good enough to go ahead and put out there and get started. And then you just keep improving. And I'm going to say also, I critique my own performance even now. And
Don't
there's
we
room
all?
for
Don't we all?
improvement. There's room for improvement, but getting started is what you do that, and it'll happen.
Another part of that practicing is getting used to the controls for the piece of technology you're using, because Zoom, Facebook Messenger, Instagram Live, all those things work differently, and nothing will shake your confidence and get you frustrated like trying to do that in front of an audience and not understanding the platform. So practice on different platforms with different people, and don't try to go first time live on a platform you don't understand the controls for, because you'll just get yourself flustered and upset. But again, ladies, this is something you learn. You can learn how the platform works. And there's amazing YouTube videos out there and, classes you can take on how different platforms work and how they perform. Some people think it's showing their whole body. Some people think they don't have any control of the mute button. So you can overcome a lot of your fears by finding out what it's not, just as much as what it is.
And I will say, even when you are not the presenter, but you're the guest, not in a group situation, but something like this, if somebody invites you to participate in their very first Facebook Live, do some Facebook Lives yourself, or get on and check it out, see how it works ahead of time, because there might be things like your camera angle that are different. And all of a sudden you're showing off something that you had no idea was going to appear, because it doesn't in Zoom, or it doesn't in whatever platform you're used to. And all the same caveats apply with where the controls are, and just setting it up the way you want. So, and you might even, if you were going to go live, like I do, I try to schedule extra time before we go live so that people can get used to the platform I use, and know, how they look, and whether it's set up the way they wanted it to be. So I love that advice. I think that's amazing. And
Kelly, too, something that's important for ladies to remember, and everybody to remember, most likely we're not going backwards on this.
no.
Most likely this is not going away. It's only going to get better, and it's going to become more a part of our lives. We won't call people on the phone anymore. We'll video chat. And it's charming. It's wonderful. But as far as business, companies are realizing they don't need to be paying for these high-rise office buildings. And even small business owners are realizing they don't need a corner office. They can function at home with the use of this technology. So I can't prove that, but it's my personal opinion that we're not going backwards. So you're going to embrace this, or you're going to get left in the dust. And, no one's still walking around with their Rolodex. We have to adapt, especially if we're going to be leaders. And this is CEO school. You are the leader. And when you're the leader, you do need to be an early adopter, because you need to do that for the people that you lead who do not have those same capabilities. As a leader, you are better skilled and better equipped to be an early adopter and take on new things. And that's one of the signs of a good leader. We lead the way. So whoever you lead, whether it's one person, 3 people, 300, when they see you adapt new technology and new ways of working, they will follow along, but they're going to get their confidence and security in seeing you do it. So if you're a leader who has been timid, frightened, intimidated, you got to get over that. And you're going to have to, if you find someone who is good at it, pull them aside and say, help me. help me. And they will. But I'm also going to tell you, don't listen to any of your children, because those little smart mouths think they own social media. And my son was horrified when I started doing reels and said, "You do not want to get on TikTok. And I don't know what you're doing. This is not going to work." I'm like, well, the experts say differently there, Einstein. So don't let other people sway you from this who don't understand what's really going on in business today.
Absolutely true. And I'm just going to brag on you a little bit because you have done amazing things. If people have not checked out your Instagram reels yet, they need to do that. And beyond that, we were talking the other day about you're in South Carolina, I'm in California. You can serve me as your customer or your client just as easily from your, office at home, um, as you can somebody who's right down the street. So by using the tools that we have right now in your phone, on your computer, you can expand your business exponentially. And that applies to everyone, unless you're a well, I'm going to take that back. I was going to say, unless you're a hands-on plumber or something like that, but that's not even true, because guess what? You can create YouTube videos about plumbing. You can get an audience, and uh, you can go from there.
There
There's so
are
much
huge
opportunity.
platforms of how to. I was listening to a guy recently who's like a home, I think he was an electrician, and he has grown this huge following. He's got sponsored by people like Home Depot. So he's making tons of money to do how to videos. I mean, my business was not crippled by COVID. When we were able to pivot and embrace technology, my business expanded. I'm so grateful. And I'm so grateful that God wired me to be a woman who would jump on and take a risk. Y'all, as CEOs, as high level business people, you have to take a risk. When did you accomplish something huge by being super comfortable and super sure? Um, but this is a risk that doesn't come with, you're not going to go bankrupt because you
There's
did a bad
no
video.
downside.
You're
Yeah.
not going to get terminated because your video wasn't perfect. And guess what? People like imperfection. And what I tell my people all the time is there's an audience for everyone. And if you don't believe me, go look around social media, because when I've seen people that were vastly overweight, not proficient in their English language, don't even have the best lighting, all these things, getting millions of views on their reels. Y'all, even if you got 3 views, for me, that's 3 new potential contacts for my business. But I've had reels get several thousand views. There's no way. Prior to this, there was never a time that I was going to meet potentially 2,000 new potential clients. There's never been anything like this before, Kelly. I mean, it's really just phenomenal. And here's another cool thing. Most of you already have what you need to do this. You're going to add a few things like lighting, and we'll talk about that in the future. Kelly's going to tell you about what's coming up. But you have a computer and a phone. That's a starting point. So it's not like you have to go spend $1,000 on equipment or go shopping to embrace this. If you've got an iPhone, you're ready to roll. So I think that's another fabulous part of this.
Absolutely. I love when you said this is a risk you're taking. It doesn't really have a downside. There's no failure, doesn't actually exist. You might not, especially in the beginning, might not blow up. And in fact, it won't. Let's just be clear. Getting that viral video the first time you put a camera in front of your face is not going to happen. But the thing is, the potential, as you practice, as you get better, as you hone in on what it is your message is, it make the sky's the limit. And thousands of views and thousands of potential customers sounds really good to me.
Well, too, Instagram has changed some of the algorithms so that they are rewarding smaller accounts with smaller number of followers. So one of your first videos could go viral because Instagram has decided to play ball with us as small timers. And I have about 1,100 followers on Instagram. That's tiny in the Instagram world, but Instagram's working with us, and they have realized that there's a lot of us out here who are using this to grow our businesses, and they're playing ball with us, which I really like. And the platforms are also adapting to our needs, and we're having a voice in creating technology of the future. How exciting is that, Kelly?
That is awesome. So awesome. I know we could go on for days. We have so much to talk about, and that actually kind of leads into the next thing that I wanted to do that you kind of hinted at, and that is Gail has agreed to go in depth with us, have a series of different videos over the next few months where she's going to talk about your background, what it should look like, what it shouldn't look like, your lighting, your makeup, because your makeup for video and your makeup in real life are not the same thing.
That's right.
It's going to talk about what are some of the other things we're going to talk in.
Clothing is a huge one because over this last year, I've shopped differently, knowing I was only going to be seen from here up than I would normally shop. And so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about color selection. We're going to talk about that headshot. Because y'all, here's a belief I have, and I hope I don't offend anyone. There's just no excuse in this day and time for a crappy headshot. You can get a good one on your phone. People recommend a professional one, but what you see like on my Clubhouse, that's actually was just taken on my iPhone. It's not even my best photo, but it was best for the purpose. And we're going to talk about that because there is a difference. And so we're going to talk about all kinds of things that are going to help you show up more confident on video and kind of have a heads up. And I'm going to show you all the things that I spent a year and a half learning the hard way and make it easy for you to just step right into it. The fact that I have this white behind me, this is no accident.
Love it. Oh, and I'm going to give another little hint that we talked about the other day, and I expect you to remind the women in the audience, and that is you do not want this to be the view that you are presenting to the world. This is not your best look.
I've had women come on camera like this, but they had on a strapless top. They looked naked. And sometimes you just don't catch it in yourself of how it's looking to the rest of the world. And because you see your background every day, you may not have the eye to edit it properly without us reminding you of it. But the minute you show on camera and there's something weird in your background, I'm going to go to it. I'm going to be like, I've seen people that look like they had things growing out their head, and it just is distracting. And it's not about perfection, but it is about professionalism and looking like you have your act together. And here's another one of those good things. I only have to have about 3 feet of my act together. The rest of my house may look like a tornado hit, but this corner is unlocked. So what's better than that? When I would have women come to my home for their consultations, I had to clean the whole dang downstairs and threaten my child not to walk through the house and the dog not to do anything. Here, I'm controlling 3 feet by 3 feet, and that is a lot less stress, Kelly.
Love it. Absolutely love it. So I'm sure that just with this little taste, you're getting the feel for how much impact and how much material there. I can't combine those two phrases in one. How much impact this series can have on your online presence, and how much material there is for us to go over. So I couldn't be more excited about having this series happen because
Me either.
it
Kelly,
is
like our business card, especially that profile, shot, that thumbnail, how we look on social media. It's our business card to the world now. And it's going out to the entire world, which may scare you, but it should also excite you.
absolutely. I love it. So on that, I'm going to wrap up for this week, but do you have anything for our audience, the people that are watching and listening today? Okay, tell us all about it.
We're going to talk about makeup in one of our episodes, but you need to know that for on camera, you need a little bit more. Now, I'm kind of a believer that more is better anyway. That's my business, but I know that's not everybody's jam, but you do need a little bit more. And we're going to talk about left to right symmetry, balance and weight on the face. All those things matter. But I want to offer you some personal help if you really feel you need that to help you get more confident on camera. My consultations are free. And you can get one by going to my Instagram, which is Gail, just like my name down there, with an extra S. So Gail S. Scott is my Instagram. And first of all, you're going to get a lot of free content there. I do a lot of tutorials there and tips there. But if you go to my direct messages and send me the word beauty, I'm going to respond to you and send you a free pampering packet with some goodies for you to try. Now, Kelly and I just did this. Did you enjoy that experience, Kelly?
Oh, it was wonderful. And I am a reluctant customer in many ways. So not for the help, absolutely. But I'm a minimalist in makeup, and I will tell you that I got so much out of Gail's consultation. It was so exciting because I'm well aware that I need an upgrade in a few different areas, especially being a midlife woman and knowing that the camera does not, well, I like to think the camera lies. but
Filters tell a lot of lies, but that's another thing and we'll talk about filters because you can just tweak it a little bit to look a little better on camera that you could, we don't get filters in real life. Another reason to get excited. But don't be concerned too that I'm going to give you anything you're not comfortable with. My goal is to help you up your game and give you something that makes you feel confident. And Kelly, face it, if we're in midlife and we haven't had a makeover in a while, it's probably time. And coming out of COVID, it's time because we've gotten a little lax. So I'd love to help you with that.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing I want to emphasize is this is not I'm going to give you a free consultation and then you're going to, then I'm going to strong arm you into getting 50 different products. This is truly news you can use. You can use it right now.
In fact, because you're Kelly's audience, I'm going to do something extra for you guys. If there's any products you decide you want, you're going to get $10 off anything you decide you want to get. But like Kelly said, I'm not pushing you into anything else. If you want products, you get them, great. If you don't, then you learn some things. But there's no course that I'm selling. There's not going to be, I'm going to tell you tip number 1 for 2 and 3, you have to pay me. It's not like that. That's not the way my business works. It's not my model. So feel relaxed and confident that I'm here to give you whatever you want and help you get more confident for real life and the camera. And that's never a bad thing, right, Kelly?
Absolutely not. I absolutely love it. It can be transformational in the very literal sense of that word. So I'm going to ask Gail to put all of her contact information in the chat. So you will be able to contact her directly. But remember, it's Gail S. Scott
Instagram at Gail S. Scott is the.
Yes, thank you.
And Kelly, if I may, I just want to leave your viewers and your ladies with this thought. I want every woman to know that you can do this. You can do this. And there's an audience out there for you. Even if you're sitting there and thinking, I'm 70 years old, there's an audience for 70 years olds. And women over 60 is one of the fastest growing audiences of people joining Instagram. Let that soak in. Instagram also influenced only second to Amazon last year, were they influencing buying decisions. That's powerful. And when we understand those facts and those numbers, we realize we have to get in this space. But I just want you to truly understand there is space for you here. And as far as your look, we can help you. And you can be just as beautiful as the next woman who has the best skills and the best products. Don't underestimate yourself and don't compare to something that's apples and oranges. Let's make you your best you and get you on that camera.
Love it. Absolutely love it. This has been such a great conversation, and I can't wait for the next one. Thank you so much, Gail.
Thank you, Kelly, for having me and trusting me with your audience.